So hi, everyone. I'm Janet Heller, and I'm thrilled to have my colleagues, Dr. Nigel Thomas and Professor Elise Grudedaria with me today. Unfortunately, Dr. Stacia Rita could not be with us. So we've got a big title here, and I'm just going to give a little introduction about what this is all about, and then my colleagues will chime in. So fall 2020, and I can't believe it's been, almost 2 years. This was the first semester, as you all recall, that CUNY was fully online. And at that point, since we're from the Department of Health, Phys Ed, and Recreation, we teach an introduction to health course. And we were very concerned at that point because the COVID-19 vaccine was not available. I know CUNY was hard hit. Our BCC community was really hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic during the spring 2020 semester. It was very, tough for everybody at CUNY. We had a lot of things going on with our students. And as health educators and public health educators, we were very concerned during that semester of the CDC was predicting this idea of having an influenza and a COVID-19 rise, and that it would totally overwhelm the healthcare system. And we traditionally have very low rates of influenza vaccine in New York City. So what we wanted to do was to figure out, because there was no COVID-19 vaccine, we wanted to figure out, okay, what is it that we can do to help reduce some of the risks to our students? And we wanted to organize sort of a systemized way to include in a personal health course how to get students to have more favorable attitudes towards the influenza vaccine. So how could we do this? How could we integrate a fully online teaching intervention into our classes? And would that be successful? So what we came up with was a standardized intervention. So we used a narrated PowerPoint. Actually, I think, Elise, I stole your slide. I think actually you're taking over from me now. So I'm sorry, I think I started talking too soon. So I'm going to pass this over to Elise Grudedaria to talk about the intervention and what we did.
Hi, everybody. I apologize that my camera is not working, but I look exactly like my picture, so just go with that. Yes, so Health 91, which is the personal health course, we teach many sections of it all year long, but this particular intervention involved just 7 of our classes and 185 students. What we wanted to do was make sure that we had a standardized intervention so that all of our adjuncts, all of our full-time faculty could see the same thing. And we used a series of videos. One of them, I'm going to show you some PowerPoint slides that were narrated so that everybody got the same information. We all used the same discussion board with a grading rubric so that we would have some standardization and we could compare outcomes. And our analysis was both qualitative from the discussion board, and we did some quantitative summaries as well. So these are just a few of the slides from the 20-minute video, and I imagine that we're going to make this available to folks. Again, this was before the COVID vaccine was developed and released. We focused a lot on the biology, and we tried very hard to anticipate some of the objections to the flu vaccine in particular and other vaccines in general, and also to address myths that we knew were circulating in our population. So if you look in the lower left-hand corner of the slide, you'll see that there were some myths stated, and then is this true, is this false? And we explained why it was false. Most of them were false because they were myths. Okay, these are the titles of some of the videos that we used. We kept them short and sweet because the main video was so lengthy. The last one, Vaccine Project episode, gave the history of the anti-vax movement, and that was from Home Box Office. Some of the others, just were available on the internet, but we vetted them and we asked students for feedback in the discussion board. So there were several parts to the discussion board. First, we made sure that students watched the 4 videos in question, and then we asked them to, just with bullet points, give us the main takeaway from each of the videos. And then we asked them some guiding questions. What would you tell a friend who does not want to vaccinate their child? And then we asked them how watching those videos and the PowerPoint presentation made them feel, because this is an emotional decision as much as it is a scientific or medical decision, and we wanted that feedback as well. And then, of course, this is a discussion board, so we made sure that they read each other's posts and responded to them, addressing something specific that their classmate had said. And as I indicated earlier, we did have a rubric for scoring these responses for a grade, but then the responses were evaluated on a qualitative basis by Professor Heller and Professor Thomas. And I'm going to pass this data analysis off to my colleagues. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Professor Dario. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us virtually. As Elise mentioned, this was a mixed methods analysis. We had both descriptive statistics as well as grouping ideas around thematic content. So for these 3 buckets, you'll see that the first one looks at the power of social networks and also trusted messengers. And the implicit idea behind this is the recognition that many of us want to not only protect ourselves, but protect others within our network in terms of their collective well-being. So that question was, what would you tell a friend who does not want to vaccinate their child? The second question gets at that attitudinal and affective component. How did the videos and PowerPoint presentation make you feel? And third, the third ask was that the student replied to someone else's post. And here we had very explicit guidelines, including, of course, that they address the fellow student by name and so on. And from there, we analyzed the data that we had. So here are some of the findings that we had. As you can see, about 17 out of 20 students found that they had favorable attitudes towards the vaccines after this teaching intervention. 9 out of 10 students demonstrated belief in medicine and science, and 8 out of 10 told us that after viewing the videos and the narrated PowerPoint, their knowledge about vaccines did in fact increase. And 17 out of 20 students agreed with another student that it was important to evaluate information that was rooted in science rather than some other concept or ideology. And on this, we wanted to share with you some specific feedback that students wrote and told us about. So in this example, the student wrote, as a person who personally knows someone who's against vaccinations, after watching these videos, I would tell my relative that vaccinations are important for every child, as the vaccines help their bodies develop antibodies, which in turn help the body build immunity to the virus. Vaccines are important not only to your child, but to other people that may be ill or have compromised immune systems. How did the videos and PowerPoint presentation make you feel? One student mentioned that after watching these videos and reading the PowerPoint, I am more open and comfortable to take the vaccines. Also, now I can talk to people about the benefits of getting a vaccine and try to uncover these misconceptions about vaccines. Now I can take any vaccine to protect myself and other people around me. The fear of vaccine is gone. Another student told us that the video and PowerPoint presentation was actually an eye-opener for me. As a person who believes in vaccinations, I never quite knew how it worked and why vaccinations were so important. Now I feel more confident vaccinating my boys. And so this was the third bucket where students responded to a fellow student's post. And in one of them, a student noted, I totally agree with what you said about having trust in professionals who spend their lives studying and researching these matters. I also think it's a very smart idea to ask questions about aspects they don't understand, especially when it comes to parents who are confused about the whole process. Another one was, I agree with you about telling them the truth. It's important to know the facts from scientists about vaccines and not just what a celebrity says on the television. We all need to be vaccinated for herd immunity, and this could greatly reduce the amount of viruses people get or completely eradicate them, like how smallpox was eradicated. I feel the same about the videos. People seem to be more prone to believe bad science. And as a footnote, I would mention that a concern throughout, not only the COVID pandemic, but for other vaccination misinformation or misstatements, has been the concern about how these percolate through social networks, whether it be Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. So students had the opportunity to figure out and recognize who were trusted messengers rather than where they might be getting information that might not be evidence-based.
Thank you. And I think I take over now, and that was actually a perfect segue, because what we did find in the discussion boards was this real tendency towards the science-based information. A lot of the students talked about some of the specific information they learned either through the narrated PowerPoint or the short videos, and they stated those specific benefits of vaccines. When asked about what they would tell a friend, many of them encouraged their friends specifically, hey, listen, why don't you go speak? If you don't, not sure, let's speak to your healthcare professional, speak to your doctor, speak to the pediatrician. And then there was also a focus on it's important to protect yourself, but also your family and others who could not get vaccinated or who had immune system problems. So we did see an increase in general knowledge about vaccines and this very high rate of positive attitudes towards vaccines. So that was great. And then this is just a wrap-up conclusion. So what have we learned about teaching and learning in an online health course? So two bigger groups, so the student learning and teaching. So we did find that the lesson really provoked deep critical thinking, and more than what you would actually get, interestingly enough, because I'm now teaching in person and using some of the same materials. And I am not getting the same deep thinking and discussion in class, actually, that I did in the online posts. So I think that's really interesting because the students were able to really think about it and then communicate in writing their attitudes and feelings. We did see a change in the perceived norms towards more vaccine acceptance. And then definitely the scientific knowledge was increased. So that was a plus. We found out with teaching that we can replicate this design. It can be replicated. It was definitely student-centered. It was self-paced. They did it during their own time and at their own pace, really. It can be offered in any mode of instruction. And it was standardized. We can standardize a lesson across all sections. And that is it.